Hello, it's Mindy Rowley. I wanted to do a video on what it's like to live with semicircular canal dehiscence. I just recently had surgery for it, but I'm going to talk to you about what it was like before I had surgery. So I first noticed it when I was pregnant. I've said this in a few other videos, but yeah, bear with me. So I first noticed when I was pregnant with my fourth child that I was hearing my heartbeat kind of pulsating. It almost felt more like, you know, when you have a hose and you kink it and it makes that shh, 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 like that shh sound. That's how it felt. Or that's what it sounded like, just all the time, just in rhythm with my heartbeat. So just a shh, 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 just a constant all the time. It was definitely worse when I would bend over or if I was like, uh, doing something that, lifting or something like that. So it started out with that. After I had my baby, I thought that would just go away. I thought it was maybe like some swelling or something. Anyway, it didn't go away. And I lived with that for about a year, and it eventually faded. But what was left, which I think I may have had this even when I had the pulsatile tinnitus, is what it's called. I had this resonating sounds inside of my head. I think that just the heartbeat sound just kind of was so loud that that's all I heard. But what was left behind was a constant resonating sound of my voice. Like if I was talking, it sounds really loud. So you know what it's like when you plug your ear, or if you have water in your ear, it's kind of like that, but not. It's loud like that, except more echoey, more just loud, and it hurts. The sounds hurt your brain. Like it just is overwhelming. And then, so it was a full year before I was diagnosed with, this disorder, and finally figured out what it was. And that actually gave me a little bit of like, oh, okay, that at least now I know what's wrong with me. Before it was frustrating because I didn't know what was the problem. I did have some vertigo with loud sounds and stuff like that. So if there was something really loud, if my kids screamed or something, I would have my vision would kind of go loopy, kind of like flip a little bit, but it would just more of just like a turning feeling. But that was just occasionally. And then let's see what else. It's different for everybody, so this is just my experience, but people have so many different varying degrees of this. Some people are dizzy all the time. Thankfully, I didn't have that, but I did feel, I could definitely notice that visually things were a little bit more wobbly sometimes, especially like if I made some noises, like if I went, my vision was wobbly when I would do that. And I definitely noticed that I just was more sensitive to sounds. So I would hear like the creaking of my neck. I would hear chewing when I was chewing food. It was just really loud, resonating in my head. Footsteps. I didn't hear the eyeballs moving too bad. I could kind of like a little bit hear something, but some people hear like almost like a sandpaper sound when you move your eyes, and that would just horrible, horrible. And this is just like 24/7, like it's all the time. And since I'm a mother of four, I had to talk. I have to talk to my kids. I have to tell them what to do. I have to, there's just so much talking involved that it was overwhelming. I always felt so fatigued. My brain was just tired. Um, and so that's kind of like a rough overview of of what I experienced. But the effects of these things were I just wanted to be alone all the time. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to be around people. I kind of isolated from my family, I felt like sometimes. I really tried hard not to. I wanted to keep my relationships. You know, I wanted to be able to still go do things. So I would push myself. I would push myself to do things that I know I didn't want to do because I hated the fact that this condition was limiting my relationships and making it harder. Um, but the result was I was always exhausted and my brain hurt all the time and just headaches, you know, just stuff like that. Like I just wanted to stay in bed. And often that's what I would do. After I would talk on the phone with somebody or after I would be somewhere, I would have to lay down, put a pillow on my head, and just recover for a while. I am semi like introverted as well, so people do drain me. I love to talk though, and I love to talk to people, and I love to do things with people, and so uh, it's just it was hard to do those things. Anyway, um, what was hard was that it's a difficult condition to describe to other people, um, or rather, it's not a very visible disability, if that makes sense. So anybody looking at me would think that I'm fine. You know, I'm normal, but yet I wanted to just isolate. You know what I mean? So it's it's easy for people to think you're making it up, I guess, or it's easy for people to be like, "What's your problem?" Because it's so hard to describe. It's so hard to well, it's not really hard to describe, but it's hard for other people to really understand. I feel like, and so I just felt that I didn't have a voice. For one, because I didn't want to talk because it hurts to talk, and two, because I felt like it is such a rare condition and nobody knows what it is. Like it didn't seem like anybody really understood what was going on with me. And people would, well-meaning people, like people that were my friends, good people, would be like, "Oh, well, have you tried these earplugs?" And I'd be like, "Oh, thank you." Like I actually do use some earplugs that do help when I'm in loud, noisy places, and it does help, except the fact that having something in my ear makes it even louder in my head when I talk. So if I have earplugs in, you just don't talk. Um, and I'd have to take them out in order to talk, if that makes sense. Like it just was so loud. Um, and it did impact my hearing in this ear. This is the one that I've had surgery on recently, and so now um, my hearing is impaired permanently because of the loudness that my eardrum was having to deal with, I guess. And hopefully, once I'm fully recovered from the surgery, it won't. I'll still be able to hear decently, but right now I don't hear very well out of this ear because of this condition. It just damages the fragile bones. It damages it, it just uh, reduces your hearing, like long term. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Um, anyway, so I actually would much rather prefer be hard of hearing or like having a hard time hearing, I think. Well, I can't say that for sure because I have never had like severe hearing loss. But while I was suffering with semicircular canal dehiscence, I um, I just like I wished like please can I just never hear again. Like I know that sounds horrible and it's totally not accurate. Like I'm sure I would regret that. But that's how bad sounds hurt. Like, that's how much it is just awful that, like, I just don't want to ever I just want to have peace and quiet. I don't want to be, I want to be able to turn my hearing aid down. Please, can I do that? But you can't turn it down. It's just too loud all the time. So, anyways, that's kind of a long little explanation, but I hope that kind of helps people understand a little bit. But like I said, I was not as severe as many people. So it's a very hard condition to deal with. People who have dizziness and balance issues all the time, that is a very severe disability. So they usually need to have this, surgery more urgently. Mine, thankfully, was one where I was able to plan for it. I chose to not get the surgery for about 5 years until my youngest was old enough that I wasn't having to take care of him as a newborn and stuff. So I was able to weigh it out and trying to decide if it's worth it to do this surgery because, like I said, it's a long recovery for the surgery, and I have balance issues now where I have to go to physical therapy and I have to be able to learn how to walk again, learn how to drive again. Not that I need to learn how to drive again, but I can't drive for 6 to 8 weeks after surgery. So, I mean, it's a serious thing. It's impacting my life. And so I really waited out and waited for 5 years until I finally decided to do the surgery. Well, 4 years after a diagnosis. Anyways, sorry for the very long video, but I hope you were able to listen to it, and I hope that helps you understand it better. And, if you do know somebody who has this condition, just having compassion for him, and just, yeah, it's such a rare thing that you may never run into another person who has it, but there are a lot of people who are suffering with it. Anyway, that's about it for today. I hope you have a good one. We'll see you. Bye.